Okay, hello everyone. I am very excited and honored to be speaking with Ola WOLNY of selfmasteryquest.com. And Ola, I first saw you on Tony Sayers' podcast, and you've appeared as his guest about three, four times, and I watched all of them because
Oh,
you bring a very unique perspective and critical eye to astrology that is grounded in discernment, rooted in the ancient traditions, and just as importantly, how it relates to the reincarnation cycle, which is what I started posting videos about. And Ola, you were in Chicago a couple months ago. I missed you.
oh well, first of all, hello everybody, and thank you so much to you for having me here for the opportunity to be able to, well, share maybe some things that I've discovered. And yes, I was in Chicago on my worst behavior, being the terrible heretic that I am. So by the way, that
That's,
presentation, that lecture from
yes.
Chicago has now been posted. It's now available for free via. Well, I don't really have a YouTube channel, but I kind of put it on a channel that I'm using for literally just that. So if anybody wants to find Ola WOLNY or Self Mastery Quest on YouTube, that's available now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, because YouTube kind of hides you a little bit, huh?
Well, I know that some of my chats with Tony Sayers, they've been taken down on YouTube, and so he had to move them to other platforms. And I know that some other videos that I've done on YouTube with other people, they also been censored. So yeah, it kind of depends on my behavior, pretty much.
Yeah, well, we like it when you are not on your best behavior because that's when you
Right?
reveal the truth.
Yeah, that's how that works, right? We're not here for popularity. We are here for the truth.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And your conference in Chicago, I will make sure to post a link for that in the description. But I think the conference was hosted by the Theosophical Society of Chicago, correct?
Well, it was at the Theosophical Society. It was at
Okay,
that at the premises. It was
okay.
hosted by Gnostic Radio, so Miguel Conner and the Gnostic Radio. So they've done it
Mm,
twice before. This was the third one, and I got the honor to be invited to this year's one. And who knows, might have been the first and the last time. We'll see.
yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. Um, I don't keep up with the Gnostics or the Theosophists, although I'm very excited about what they do and the kind of information that they bring out. Um, it's just that some Theosophists are um, really all about the ascended masters
Yeah,
and people
yeah.
like that. And as I pointed out for my viewers in my Three Pyramids video, a lot of these so-called ascended masters can't really be trusted. This
Absolutely.
yeah, this idea that, oh, we're just these tiny humans and we have to trust the authority of these spiritual councils, I believe has caused humanity to be in a bit of a predicament, a,
Yeah,
um,
totally. Mm.
a hostage situation where most people think they're free, but we kind of aren't.
Yeah,
Or at least,
absolutely. And I definitely need to say that I don't associate myself with absolutely any organization at all, regardless of how freedom promoting or progressive or open-minded they call themselves to be. It's I just stand sort of by myself. I'm good that way. So I don't really associate myself with anyone's philosophy. And as you say, that's pretty obvious, right? That that kind of approach of humanity being these infantile children that needs to be led by spirit guides and
Yes.
some
Yes.
kind of other entities that are there overseeing our development, growth, and etc. That is just such a naive approach. It is very much rooted in the New Age philosophy, which of course in itself is nothing benevolent there, but it is part of that agenda to kind of keep us away from fully remembering, discovering who we are and what our potential is. It goes beyond that, because those becomes just statements as well at some point, but absolutely, the whole notion of some sort of masters, gurus, or any authority for that matter that we should be bowing to, or minding, listening, following. That's just such a part of this whole. I would say misdirection, to say the best. It's just a one big lie.
Ola, I could not have said that better myself. Oh, we're going to have a great conversation today. I'm so excited. This is exactly why I wanted to speak with you.
But probably gonna be, censored and taken down very soon. So let's enjoy while it lasts.
I'll make sure that YouTube behaves itself and doesn't. We should be able to say what we need to, and but anyway, yes, I agree. We'll start off with some introductory questions. Then we'll dive right in to the virtual machine. Ola, in our correspondence, you said you recently took a tour up north to the Arctic. How was it?
Well, it's to kind of clarify that I live in the Arctic, so I live here, but I run tours here in the Arctic, especially to certain regions or certain areas here. One of them called Lofoten, where, well, according to the local legends and the folklore, that region is considered, according to the old stories, to potentially be the ancient Hyperborea. So what stems from that is the fact that the region here, the energy of the places here is absolutely amazing. A lot of ancient trees. If anybody is into the theory, or it's not really a theory anymore, right? Anything that's called theory is reality. But the sort of giant trees that became petrified,
Yes.
and so we just see the trunks of them. That's obviously scattered all over the world. It's not just here, but
Yes.
probably Norway is not so known. The Arctic may not be so known for these trees, because you kind of have to know how to distinguish them, how to see them. Another aspect is, I call them the ancient energy, or the ancient birthing sites, where the energy from the inner earth, or from the underworld, however we want to sort of look at it, from the lower world, has been entering into this realm. So we have a lot of those spots around Lofoten area. And what is the consequence of that is that when you find yourself in those regions, in this energy, in those areas, it is such a pure, beautiful experience that it is a naturally sort of healing process. It is sort of bringing up to the surface things within us that, well, needs to be kind of looked at, or perhaps just cleansed and healed. So this is where I had my own healing and transformational journey, and this is part of the reason why I facilitate that for other people as well. So I'm just a guide through the areas, through the regions, who shares the old stories, legends, fairy tales, mythology, which is very, very critical to this inquiry. And people go through their own inner journey, inner and outer journey. So this region, and of course, region is, if anybody knows, this region is inhabited by the so-called Sami people. Sami people are the indigenous people of the north. As in the northern Scandinavia and a little bit of Russia, because when you look at the map, the north, the Arctic Circle here, the region of northern Norway, Sweden, Finland, and a little bit of Russia, this is the Sami, the Sapmilan. So the traditions, the shamanism, the folklore of the Sami people is beautiful place to get a lot of information about the true reality that we are living in.
Wow, thank you for sharing, and thank you for clarifying as well. Ola lives in Norway, correct?
That's right, in the north, past the Arctic Circle, so all the way up north, or for some people, perhaps all the way to the center of the earth.
Yes, I don't get too much into the whole flat Earth versus round Earth, even though I do have my own opinion on that. Overall, I see our reality as a simulation. So whether it's round or Earth, personally, when I go out of body, I see it as both. But for those listening, I will explain it later in a video, how I'm able to see both aspects, because there is a reason why the ancients drew it that way, with the central tree, Yggdrasil, and the sort of flat disc around it. I saw that, but I also see the round sort of encasing around that whole thing as well, which is where we live. So I see it in both ways.
Yeah, so you probably see it very similar to how I kind of feel about it, and to kind of clarify, you probably have not, if anybody has listened to me before, you might have not really heard me speak about the flat earth versus the round earth, or you have seen me always sort of step away from that topic. And the reason for that is because I just don't see any value in trying to determine one way or another. I think that this is another rabbit hole that you're going to spend a lot of time going down and trying to prove or disprove, and in the end you're just not gonna, it's the relevance of that information is, to me, not very important, because it doesn't really change the fact that, well, here we are caught in some kind of living in a reality which is clearly controlled, and it doesn't really matter what's the geography of it. As for what you said, and perhaps this is where we probably have the same view. I also see this as both versions being correct, because to me we are living in a, or this whole area per se is much larger than what they tell us.
Yes.
And perhaps that massive larger area is of some sort of sphere shape or round or whatever, but the local area under the dome where we find ourselves very much resembles flat, because we are on a very tiny sort of piece of the bigger area. And so I always use the comparison of like a biocapsule that we have been kind of caught and kept under, you know, a localized sort of environment created for us, and this is why we see it as flat, or a lot of people can argue that this is flat, but actually there is a bigger context to it, to which we do not have access, as in physically. Yeah, it's probably much larger than, and it's of course not the whole round Earth as we are presented.
Yes, yes. Now I must ask, since you're in the Arctic, are you, or at least near the Arctic Circle, are you able to see with your spiritual sight the sky city or the celestial cities?
Well, I think I would, you know, that is another idea, that's what's out there in the legends, in the folklore here. The idea of Yggdrasil, for example, which is obviously the sort of comparable context to the Axis Mundi. It is not specifically talking about some celestial cities. It is talking about the center of the Earth. It is talking about the energetic construct of this world, including 3 levels: the lower world, the middle world, where we are, all of us, not just the Arctic, and the upper world. And I would say that, you know, we sort of perceive the center, or the true north, right? Because we're not very far from there, or the center. We see it in a bit different way, or that's how the folklore has been portraying that, as in there is an entrance. There is like a inverted volcano, if you like. So what they call Mount Meru is actually a sort of entrance, in a way, energetic slash not just energetic, into the inner Earth. So I wouldn't, this is the story up here, and this is, you know, part of the reasons why we see northern lights, not the fake ones that are created these days by HARP, but the true ones. They are connected to the activity, sort of linked between the sun and the sort of connection with the inner Earth, right at the center.
Yes, yes. My last video that I just posted, I was talking about the inverted mountains. That's exactly
Right.
that's exactly how I describe it too. But when I mentioned when I'm referring to celestial cities, I'm talking about like what you mentioned earlier, like Hyperborea and things like that. Are you able to feel that or sense that in any sort of way?
So Hyperborea, we do not see it as any celestial city. We have evidence here that Hyperborea was a land, just like we are where we are living right now. So the area of Lofoten, spreading across a little bit towards north, a little bit towards the south from Lofoten. Lofoten, by the way, are islands. If you sort of look up around 68 degrees north, and islands sticking out to the west, this is the region that I'm talking about. So that region specifically, physically, was considered the region of ancient Hyperborea. And we have, if you look to the Odyssey, to the descriptions that Homer provided of the tours, of the description, of geographical description of where those journeys were taking place, and sort of what was being met by the travelers, that corresponds directly to the landscapes that we have here, to certain points at the very western points of Lofoten, for example. It corresponds to the the sort of difficulty linked to the sea and the currents that you're gonna experience that there. And specifically, that's exactly what Homer was describing. Not just that, because here in our legends, in the folklore, in the local folklore, going back to the 1700s and before, even Helena Blavatsky in some of her works was describing that this land is the land of ancient Hyperborea. So we're talking literally physically. This is why because the energy, when you hear, you will feel it. The energy is very different. The energy is very primordial. It's very original. It's very strong. It's literally it's very transformational in itself as well. But there is that kind of originality, that primordial feeling to this energy, and in the legends we find out, we get told that there was a very special race of people or beings that were living, inhabiting this area originally, which were sort of a spawn of earthlings and extraterrestrials, but not the extraterrestrials as in some the reptilians or Anunnaki, but we're talking most likely the interpretation would take us towards the Pleiades.
Interesting, very fascinating. And I wonder with the whole Hyperborea aspect, if there's a multidimensionality to it as well, because I can see these brilliant cities in the out-of-body state, and the whole world actually caught a glimpse of one of these in 2015 over northern China. I don't know if you remember that, but the media downplayed it as some sort of mirage and said, oh, nothing to see here. And everyone kind of just forgot about it. But there's definitely the physical geography aspect of it. And I also consider how in their Germanic legends as well, there's the Thule, but then there's also this Ultima Thule, which is like sort of even beyond that. So I always thought that there was this sort of multidimensionality of it as well. Like, yes, there's a physical representation, but there's also a non-physical representation. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there are certain things that we are not observing through our physical sort of visible light spectrum lens, if you like, right?
Yes,
so there's
yes.
a lot of things that we can find outside of that spectrum, and it doesn't, we don't have to look far to see evidence of that, because animals, cats, they see so much more. So very often they will follow with their sight something that we just don't perceive. So clearly they're probably, and even if you look at obviously at the Yggdrasil and the concept of sort of different realms within those three planes, clearly there is place for other possibilities as well. As for what happened specifically over China or over time at different locations, it's a little bit difficult to pinpoint what exactly are we dealing with, because obviously we know that they are playing with the Bluebeam project. So and Bluebeam project, I guess everybody knows what that is, but that's a project of the government project. Oh my God, we're gonna really get censored now, but but it's a project of using technology to project something into the sky, and they can project all sorts of things from second coming of Christ to anything, whatever they want. So the technology is so advanced now, they can equally project a city or a spaceship up there in the air, which actually doesn't even exist, right? And some of that technology is being widely used right now, or sort of pieces of that technology as entertainment for events and things like that. So it is very difficult to sort of 100% be able to distinguish when are we dealing with a true representation of or perhaps a true evidence versus a technique or technology being used to misguide or to sort of prepare us for something coming in the future, right? I mean, these are masters of not just illusion, but these are masters of mind control and playing with our minds in all sorts of ways. But to answer your question, do I think that we are only living in a sort of 3D physical reality and there is nothing more? Of course not. Of course not. I mean, this you got to be really gullible to think that that's all it is. And yeah, that's I mean, at this stage we are far beyond believing only that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely predictive programming going on with the government. So it's always useful to use caution for whatever we observe. I just feel that sometimes when the government wants us to see something, it really promotes it. And when it doesn't want us to see something, it hides it and shuts it down or blacklists it. So
well, I think that what I've seen in the last years is that they have gone another step beyond that, which is, and this is very often what happens to people who are well, pretending or trying to seem legit, channels on YouTube, authors, etc. And what I mean by that is that there is this whole process of pretending to be censored, pretending to be shut down. So absolutely, it can be that simple as when they don't want us to see something, they will take it down. But they know also that we have already been for a long time seeing through their game. Not everybody, but those of us that can sort of understand a little bit more what's going on. But there is a game directed at us as well, and that is the game for the so-called awakened, which is, it's almost like a double double trick, which is they are now they've already started that. They're trying to pretend that they are taking something down, something that's, it's not as simple as just taking it down. Now they are pretending that they're taking something down, where in reality that is not the truth either. So that all of us awakened will jump on it and will believe it as gospel.
Yeah, well, that, like I said, that's why we have to use caution. But I think it's very fascinating because I always say that the entire New Age movement, especially in the modern time, but also with the 1960s and 70s hippies movement, definitely backed and supported by government interests that, like you said, want us to sort of prepare for a certain new ideas, but they are the ones who are sort of directing it and guiding it, like we said before, to this whole idea of we must honor the ascended masters, and we're this, infantile, race of beings who need guidance. So there's definitely that, which is why I wanted to speak with people like you who can see through that. So
yeah, absolutely. The New Age and going back to the 60s, that kind of first wave of sort of awakening, if you like, or people kind of stepping away from following the American dream and believing in that and starting to kind of see through the illusion. Of course, the government was prepared for that. So the New Age movement is a very much CIA controlled movement. It was orchestrated, and it is specifically targeting, and it is designed to pick out people who are slowly waking up or sort of finding that something doesn't quite click here. So it is immediately there for them, available to sort of scoop them and guide them towards the wrong side anyway, right? So you I mean, discernment, but how do you know what you don't know, right? So it becomes a real art to be walking through the current times, because it's almost impossible to know, like, how do you know what you don't know, right? How do you know not to walk into, probably all of us at some point have flirted with the new age, right? Because it is there, and it is very alluring, and it is very well prepared as a landing ground. And as I always say, people who are in the new age don't know they are in the new age. They truly believe that they are supporting something amazing and benevolent, and the rest of us are, we're just not there yet, right? But yeah.
I really like what you said about them preparing a landing ground for people, because in the reincarnation cycle, in the bigger picture of it all, that's exactly what I saw for the 60s and 70s New Age hippie movement. The reason why they needed to get people out of that traditional 1950s household and get into all this free love and the whole thing with the Beatles and the Tavistock Institute, the wave of beings that were coming back in to reincarnate at that time, they wanted to prepare a ground for them, because they were the ones who had recently died from the world wars, and pretty much almost all of them refused to come back. And I'll be talking about that in an upcoming video, but they knew that the people that were coming back would have questions and would start rejecting traditional religious norms. And because, when we come in, when we knew that we didn't want to, they knew that people like that would be seeking answers during their lifetime. So that's one of the many reasons why they prepared that sort of, new age movement as well, as a sort of a net to capture the people that they knew didn't want to be reborn here in the first place, because who would want to come back after experiencing those horrific world wars? So they have these sort of programs set up for people who they know are going to be seeking. So that's why, like you said, it is hard to know what you don't even know. How do you even not know what you don't know? But that's why we have to, have these kind of conversations and learn together. And pretty much as we learn, we discover more about what we don't know and can continue asking those kind of questions. So it is very, very tricky what kind of nets and plans they have for us. And like I said, again, multidimensionally.
Right, and I think what you've touched on here, right, is the soul trap, is the soul reincarnation trap. Probably, I would say that based on what I have, sort of the dots that I've connected on this one, I don't think, unfortunately, that we have so much deciding power or sort of ability to oppose this mechanism. From what I've seen, from what I've seen through the ancient texts and folklore and legends and mythology, and sort of pulling all that knowledge together, as the Hermetic texts tell us, it is pretty much a mechanism that doesn't really leave you much control. And this is not to do, unfortunately, this is not based on will. This is not based on intention, as in when you die, you can choose whether you reincarnate or not, where you go, and etc. That's not how it's done. Everything is rooted in the fact that part of the workings of this mechanism is targeting the soul. Specifically, it aims to fragment the soul. This is why in the age of Pisces we are caught in the net. Our soul is caught into a net. So fragmentation of the soul obviously means that we lose wholeness. And when we lose wholeness, it is very difficult for us to be able to sort of have that discernment and perceive things the way they truly are, to be able to naturally connect with the truth. It's almost impossible. How is the soul fragmented? What's the sort of process behind it? Trauma and deep conditioning through the religions and all the kind of social programming that we received, the roles and sort of expectations, guilt, shame, fear, etc. These things that all of us pretty much since childhood will experience, and in addition to that, all sorts of traumas that we deal with since our early age, and then repeating patterns, because of course this is where the zodiac comes in. So we can talk about that also a little bit further, but the sort of the very working of that, and how that, what that causes is that when you die, you do not have a choice. You do not have, nobody's asking you a question, oh, do you want to reincarnate here? The fact that the soul is fragmented, the fact that you are in deep programming, and of course a lot of people believe in karma. A lot of people believe in religions. So there is a version of karma called the sin, and needing to repay that. And sort of needing to go back and make all the wrongs right. So there is a mechanism which sort of takes away that free will from you. There is no free will if you are dying with the programming, if you die with the trauma. So if that has not been released, then there is very little leeway. There's very little sort of ability to decide on the other side what's going to happen with you. This is why the Gnostic or in the Gospels we find Mary Magdalene say that if you do not resurrect by life, and by the way, of course, the resurrection, people don't understand what that truly means. If you do not resurrect in life after death, it's impossible. It's too late. What does that mean? Resurrection is not about resurrecting from physical death as it is portrayed with Jesus. It is a story that has been changed hundreds of years after the times that it referred to. So the death that's truly discussed there is a spiritual death, which is the same context as, for example, Isis and Osiris, Inanna Dumuzi. So the men die and the woman is there at resurrection. The woman guides resurrection. It is about spiritual death. It's like shaman travels to the underworld or travels to other realms to pick fragmented pieces of the soul, to recover fragmented pieces of the soul, to bring wholeness to the soul. That is the process of resurrection. So why do I talk about it? Because resurrection, as we are told, needs to happen during life. So when you die, you are whole. And when you are whole, the archons, or however we call them, the controllers of this matrix, do not have a grip. They do not have a grip. Their mechanism, that soul trap, soul control mechanism on the other side, cannot pull you back in and recycle you down unless you die still with trauma, with guilt, fear, programming, beliefs about karma, religion, etc., etc. Then that's it. That's done, and your intentions and sort of free will, it doesn't work like that. It works on the basis of where you truly are. Have you done the work? Have you truly awakened and seen this context? So this is where I sort of come from when I'm thinking, those souls don't really have a choice whether they're gonna incarnate or not. There is no place for anger, because they just get pulled in, and they get sent back. And that's what we know from the Hermetic text, right? That you will be tossed between heaven and earth indefinitely. That's what the Hermetic texts tell us. And of course, there is hope, but that hope is realized through resurrection, through understanding. Well, first of all, there needs to be that understanding of how this mechanism even works, and that it is not based on intentionality.
Oh, I agree with that, that intention alone isn't really enough. When I started having out-of-body experiences back in 2018, I could not believe that if I hadn't, I would have gone my whole life and only been released from the body upon death. And that would have been my first time, excuse me, that would have been my first time experiencing the out of body state, as most people do, upon death. And when I first started having out of body experiences, it was very disorienting. And I could not believe that most people spend their whole lives and they would be totally unprepared at the time of death for the feeling of navigating through the spirit world, how it feels to be out of body, how it feels to be in a different dimensional wavelength or frequency. So I really, really appreciate what you said about how learning all of the various levels of resurrection and really learning about yourself during this life rather than following the life script that they give us, which we're going to talk about in a moment, that is meant to keep you completely and totally distracted for your whole life. That way, upon your death, you're completely unprepared for what you're about to experience. And they count on that because they count on catching you off guard. That tunnel of light, a lot of NDE and pre-birth memory reports say that they saw this brilliant light and it sort of caught them off guard. But I also really like what you said about the free will aspect, because in Crimes of the Gods, I note how the spirit guides, who a lot of the people that appear on the NDE and pre-birth podcast, they report how, they, at least they think they were given a choice, but I agree with you. I completely agree with you that they weren't really. And I lay out how these spirit guides really ultimately coerce people into reincarnating. And the ancient Gnostics and the ancient mystery schools, it's exactly like what you said. They weren't speaking about, us having some sort of choice in this sort of panel discussion about, do we want to incarnate? Do you want to not? Do you want to do this? There was no discussion like that. Even in ancient Egypt, you met Anubis and, you were judged and that's it. So this whole phenomenon that the NDE and pre-birth reports are speaking of now, about how I met with a spirit guide and they were very friendly and they gave me a choice and we had a life review and all that. I point out that that's relatively new. And it's not because of you. It's not because of us. They're not scared of us. While we're in these bodies, while we're in these forms, they're not scared of us. So, it's not, they feel that they have to give at least a small percentage of people the illusion of choice, which is what we're going to talk about today with the virtual machine. Because I saw that many of the people, especially in the more developed nations who are who are experiencing these NDE and pre-birth memories, they're saying, oh, I chose this life, at least certain aspects of this life. I remember choosing to go through my ups and downs and things like that. But when I hear the stories, the traditions, and the reports of people in less fortunate situations and countries, they're not saying that they chose that. The poor child in the Philippines picking trash in the ghettos, I'm not hearing them saying that they chose that. The starving child in Africa, the poor individual in the slums of India, they're not saying that they chose that. But the people that are in more fortunate situations, who always come home to a fridge full of food, there's a reason why they think that they chose that. And I saw that there's this multi-dimensional program to get at least, let's say, I don't know, a quarter or a fifth of the world, that they have to, there's this program, and we're going to get into that today, to give people the illusion to say, yes, I would like to reincarnate, or at least give them a nudge like, hey, would you like to reincarnate? But at the end of the day, their ultimate goal is for everyone to reincarnate. So yeah.
I think you said several very important things there. And one of them, first of all, NDE. Okay, let's remember that NDE is not reincarnation. So I'm sorry, but you haven't gone far. Not you, but anybody who had NDE has just not gone very far. So if you have NDE and you come back into the same body, you haven't reincarnated. You just been kicked back out, or so I'm not really, let's say, trusting that story, because I don't feel these people have gone very far in the process. Because when we talk about life reviews, when we talk about sort of having the option or no option to reincarnate or not, well, then you would be coming back in a different body, and then you would be also forgetting everything, because this is part of the wiping of the memory, right? So people who have NDE, and they come back into the same body, and they see the tunnel of light and all that, I feel that they see exactly what's being sort of shown to them, as in, well, what's the tunnel of light? Well, of course we can argue that that's the moon, because the moon is part of the reincarnation machine. So the moon is specifically where the soul are being sort of directed to, and then that recycling process happens, and they being shot back down onto the earth into a new body. So I agree that they can see that, but I don't agree that they participate in the process, because the process is called reincarnation onto the earth, under the dome. It is not called dying and going back into the same body. So I'm a little bit skeptical over there as to how much. I'm not questioning that this is what they've seen. I'm just saying that I think they've seen what the other side wanted them to see.
Yes.
Or to that, to a certain degree, right? Not the whole thing. Another thing, as you mentioned, this whole notion of us choosing the life and choosing, this is such a new age based nonsense and lie. It's just a lie, because absolutely, like you said, I can't believe that there's anybody here choosing a life in poverty or in suffering of any kind, because they think they deserve it, because of some past doings that they don't even remember and have no recollection of. It's just ludicrous concept. It is a plausible context or explanation delivered by New Age, because they want us to believe in karma. They want us to believe in sin and sort of coming to repent, when in reality all that is just part of that natural need for humanity to find the reason for suffering. There must be some logical, good, plausible, preferably noble reason for this suffering.
Yes.
And there isn't any. This is not the law of universe, what's happening here. This is the law of this realm, as in under the dome, where these beings, archons, Anunnaki, reptilians, whatever we call them, it doesn't really matter, it's the same sort. They have created this confined space, their little game, not just game, it's like more like a harvesting farm for energy. And part of this place is for humans to be endlessly reincarnating, because we are food. We are energetically food for them. So there is no escaping here unless you know how to die, unless you escape the shackles of this realm, which are what? Well, which is that kind of fragmentation of the soul caused by low vibrational energies of fear, shame, guilt, trauma, etc., etc. Karma is not the law of universe. Karma is the local law of the archons. You want to sign up to that, you want to believe in that. I'm not saying karma doesn't exist. It exists in the world of Maya. It exists under the dome of the archons. If you sign up to it, if you believe in it, then you're definitely gonna follow that, and it's gonna happen according to whatever is prepared for you. But that does not mean that that's how it needs to be. So this is the difference. We need to understand that there is a version of reality that's being presented to us after death, with the karma, with sins, with needing to reincarnate to pay that off, which is all just a grand lie.
Wow, Ola, I love how passionate you are about all this. I do agree that we need to look at the NDEs with very high scrutiny, which leads me to the second question. And I just wanted to clarify as well that it's not only NDEs that we are gathering this data from for the observances, it's also pre-birth memories as well as past life regressions, which, like you said, we need to look at all of it with scrutiny and high levels of questioning and research. But there are some very interesting commonalities and similarities with people who are experiencing the NDEs, as well as people who remember their in-between, the pre-birth memories. And there definitely is, I agree with you, there definitely is a story that they're trying to tell. And I'm going to get into that in one of my future videos about why they're trying to give us this this idea that, oh, everything's going to be wonderful. There's these pleasant people that are going to greet you, but you're going to reincarnate. So
yeah, absolutely. But you see, I think that was worth mentioning as well, or perhaps keeping in mind. I understand, and I know, I'm fully aware that there are commonalities in stories, whether that's pre-birth memories, or, like you said, some kind of hypnosis memories, etc. When that people have. But you see, one needs to always be questioning, where are those stories coming from? How do you know? How do you know? Because we know that they do mind control, right? They do mind control. And when we are alive, to a point where, majority of people are able to be coerced into thinking the same things, or experiencing the same type of reality, or going through the same type of, truth, or whatever they consider, right, reality. I mean, look at the last 4 years. We had 90% of population believing there was a pandemic. So if that's the case, then what stops them from influencing and directing the memories, or literally like inserting the memories into you? How do you know what we can rely on and what we can't? Because according to the to the Gnostics, if we kind of unpack, not just the Gnostics, because I don't wanna kind of make it sound like this is very much a one group version. This is a version repeated by the indigenous people and many other cultures that talk about the subconscious being some kind of external implant, some kind of how to say it, some kind of software almost, which is not exactly ours. And if you look to the books of Castaneda, or anybody who is supposedly drawing from the indigenous accounts, they talk about having two minds. I think that's how he refers to it. But basically, subconscious being kind of externally controlled. So if that's the case, how much can we rely on that what we think we remember, what we think we see in those hypnotic states or regression, etc. How can we really trust it? How do we know where that comes from? So that's my kind of first question. The other part of the well, I would say investigation should also go towards sort of understanding if where is all this information coming from? This is clearly something that they want us to think, because these scenarios of life review, our choosing here, these are clearly this is working for them.
Yes.
This is right. This is working for them.
Yes, I really like what you said about that. So in terms of the mind control, I see it more as a like I said before, predictive programming, manipulation, influence. The beings that we're dealing with, they're not all powerful. They're not omnipotent. The fact that people like you and I can have this conversation right now proves that they don't have that kind of radio control where they can, make us into robots necessarily. We do have at least a small sense of agency here. So I do agree with you that yes, like I said before, we need to question, but there are places, the fact that we can question at all, the fact that we can have these conversations at least shows me that they're not omnipotent. They're not all powerful. And I really like what you said about the software. We're going to get into that today. But I come from a biology background and apply skepticism and discernment to anything and everything I observe out of body or learn about through esoteric study. I truly believe that rigorous scrutiny and a critical eye is why we, Ola, people like you and me, are able to see through the deceptive tactics that are employed by the so-called spirit guides and the archons that most people in spiritual communities don't really seem to be doing. So I'd like to ask you, Ola, how has your engineering background influenced your approach to spirituality?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and maybe this question should be flipped, in a sense that perhaps it's not my engineering background that is making me question things and apply discernment. Perhaps something inside of me is making me apply discernment and question everything, which led me originally to on that engineering path, right? Because that would have been a natural way to let it play out, right, in that kind of logical, analytical environment. Because I have pretty much always been like that. I think it's been kind of two sides of me. There's a sort of one side of me which is definitely very logical, analytical, and that kind of left brain, if you like. But there's also another part of me, or that kind of more metaphysical side, which is very much feeling, intuition based. And I know that we are, and of course everybody knows that in this world, we are pretty much coerced into using that intellect based part of us. The IQ is what we get judged on, and that is what wins the job and wins the education, etc. It is not really your it is not that intuition that does that. So and that's not promoted or rewarded in any way. So I would say that probably for some reason some of us just come equipped with that natural sense of questioning, which is going to play out in all sorts of areas of our life, including going and studying engineering at some point, right? And going round back circle to that kind of spiritual ground, and applying that scrutiny and sort of discernment, critical eye to that as well. Why you wouldn't have to normally do that, but in a world where everything is so fake and everything is so distorted, reversed, I mean, you just cannot just walk in there and enjoy your spirituality, right? You have to first pretty much weed out all the nonsense.
Very fascinating. I like how you flip that. Ola's website is selfmasteryquest.com. I will post a link in the description. And I'd like to read a short excerpt from your About Me section, if that's all right with you, Ola.
Oh, sure. I hope people don't fall asleep there.
You state, my purpose is to go beyond astrology, to escape the Zodiac mechanism and help others reclaim their power and sovereignty. I'm here to bring back the sacred wisdom about our true potential, creation abilities, and dormant capabilities, so that we dispel the shackles of slavery imposed upon this planet millennia ago. Ola, what is the Zodiac mechanism?
Oh, wow. Good. Very, very important question. I think that is. And probably, I'm going to piss off a lot of people, because New Age has done a lot of groundwork here, trying to sell us the Zodiac, astrology, numerology as the path to development and enlightenment. It kind of flipped the script, as everything in this reality. Whereas I have been very busy trying to demonstrate that Zodiac mechanism, absolutely something that everybody should be aware of. And I'm not saying that everybody should study, but everybody should be aware of what we are truly dealing with. And for me, based on what I've seen and based on studying the ancient texts, the awareness of the archons, the awareness of those that control this realm, Zodiac is nothing else but static mechanism of control of us, our experience, our trauma, ensuring that the trauma is imposed onto us, ensuring that things happen in a certain pattern-like fashion, cyclical, things keep repeating. Usually, think about your lives, right? I mean, not many people can say that their life is just easy. It's always been easy. They've had no issues. They've had no challenges. Everything is always fabulous and amazing. And it has always been. Okay, so if it's not, why is it not? Why is our life, and why is it possible that you can go to someone called an astrologer or a numerologist, and they can tell you things about you and about your life going forward? Why is that possible? It shouldn't be possible if we have free will. It shouldn't be possible. If we had fully free will only, and everything was just a result of our own choices. Why is it that certain things in your life can happen now, but not, a few years ago, or you should wait with certain things until next year or whenever? That's what predictive astrology, numerology, that's how it works. Why is that? Why can't I choose for myself when and what I want? Why is it that, some of us are more predisposed towards certain disciplines, but not others? And why is it that we fail at, doing something that's allegedly not our field? Who decides that? Why do we keep repeating certain patterns in our life? Certain bad things keep happening to us. And why is it that we can predict that and we can nail that down and link it to our astrology chart or numerology? Why is it like that? Where does that come from? Well, it comes from the fact that in this reality, as we log in, which we call birth, as we log in, we are getting part of sort of coded. Our life, our experience becomes coded. It kind of becomes steered by an external mechanism, and that's called the zodiac. And the ancients knew that, and the New Age turned it into this amazing tool of growth and development and evolution of the soul, which is the biggest lie sold to people. It is not a mechanism of, evolution and development. It is a mechanism of control. Determine the fact that your life is determined, is predetermined. Your choices are predetermined. You call it free will, but they are predetermined. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be happening. So what I have discovered and what I work with is trying to expose for people who would like to investigate that, specifically in what way the code, the matrix code, has been imposed onto them, in which ways they are being controlled, and in which ways they are kind of being guided by the trauma, by conditioning, and how can they escape that.
Very, very fascinating. Today, we're going to talk about human design and the virtual machine. I have guest Ola WOLNY with me of selfmasteryquest.com. This is the conversation that I've been waiting for. Ola, I'm loving this so far. I want to tie in the astrology aspect with, like you said, why things are seemingly predetermined for a lot of people. Have you heard of the concept of human design?
Yes, of course. It's another way of applying astrology, and that deterministic approach. It's another way of interpreting how that mechanism is controlling us.
Yes, yes. And for my audience who doesn't know about human design is a relatively newer new age concept that's been around for the past few decades. But pretty much just like Ola said, it combines astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, Vedic philosophy, and towards the bottom of this slide here, human design has been described as a psychological counseling instrument, a comprehensive and personalized map of your unique energy and life blueprint, guiding you towards self-awareness, personal growth, and empowerment. It claims to facilitate deep access to bodily, generational, and interdimensional intelligence. And the elements of human design, towards the bottom of this slide as well, this is where astrology comes in. In human design analysis, planets are displayed in a type of horoscope called a body graph. The body graph shows the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching at various locations on the body. It is sometimes shown within a mandala overlaid on the 12 signs of the Zodiac. And Ola, this is basically what I saw of the virtual machine in human design. Pretty much, some people come in with this program, this software, this interconnected virtual design for their life plan, where pretty much each of the interconnected points represents the people that we're going to meet during our life, and the lines connecting the dots represent the path that we're going to use to get there. And the Zodiac is combined in with this to, again, sort of give people the illusion that they have some sort of plan going forward. And pretty much they come in with a chart that looks very much like a birth chart. The reason why some people get access to this is because before coming in to this life, a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to reincarnate. I don't want to reincarnate. I don't want to reincarnate. And this whole Zodiac plan, at least how it's advertised to us. Again, I agree with you that it's not for our benefit. But let me just say this. The whole plan was to give the illusion that, no, reincarnate. See, you get to choose certain, or at least not choose, but you get to plan. The better word is plan certain aspects of how your life is going to be. And it's very funny, Ola. I think you're going to like this. Well, we're not going to like this, but the archons, they were very much like, oh, why are humans so rebellious? Why do they keep resisting reincarnation? And it was a woman, an Anunnaki woman, or whoever, however you want to call them, that literally thought of the idea of, well, humans will be less resistant if you give them the illusion that they have some sort of self-agency, that they have some sort of plan going forward in life. So how about you tell humans that, no, it's all good, rather than sort of being the sort of disciplinarian father God type. Instead, it was a woman that was like, if you ease humans into it, they will not only be less resistant, but it will be like what we see now, where we have an entire new age community that is defending this system, saying, no, it is good. It is for our benefit. It is for our, like you perfectly stated, it is for our quote unquote soul evolution or spiritual evolutionary growth. This is for me. This explains the trauma. It gives people this psychological sense of control so that they are more willing, more accepting of the reincarnation cycle, and so that they won't resist. So pretty much, like I said before, the interconnected points represent the people that you're going to meet. And the thing is, before this life, this is where it gets very sinister, even more sinister than what we've already discussed. In order to give certain people the illusion that they have some sort of choice in the reincarnation cycle, like we just discussed, all of these pre-birth accounts and NDE reports claiming that they chose their parents, that they chose certain experiences that they'll go through in life. Well, pretty much this is what I saw. Before coming in, you see the virtual horizon of this whatever you want to call it, platform, this world, and the people look like these little virtual moving parts. And when people quote unquote choose their parents, what they're literally doing is they're bringing like two chess pieces together and seeing if this works out, or if that doesn't. And I saw, Ola, you will not believe this, or maybe you would, who knows, that the reason why lately, in the past couple generations, why, because in the past, in the older generations, you fell in love with your high school sweetheart and you married them and were with them for life. But nowadays, the dating game is chaotic. People are falling in love, breaking up, getting together, divorcing with someone. Now they're my ex, this, that. And I saw that the reason why there's all this swing is because there's literally this chess game going on with the people that are going to come in. Your future children are literally saying, will these two people be a good match for my parents? Oh, nope. Let me try these other two people. And this is why people are swinging like, oh, I'm so in love with this person. Oh, no, I'm going to break up with them. Oh, I feel mystically drawn to this other person. Oh, no, I'm going to break up with them now. Now we're exes. And I saw that there's literally this puppet show going on in the higher realms, where in order to give people because there are some mothers who say that they sort of who claim that they had a vision or a experience where they saw their future child before they were born. And the reason I saw for this is because, again, it's this human design, this virtual machine that includes the zodiac, the astrology, that in planning these things out, it's like you very eloquently pointed out, it is a infringement upon our free will. It is causing people to date and break up and get over here, get over there. It's a mess. It's a complete and total mess out there. But they're doing this so that more and more people are willing to incarnate. And sure enough, so many people have. The population's 8 billion now, which is very, very telling of the I wouldn't say effectiveness of this strategy, but the goal of it, which was to get more people to be willing to reincarnate. What do you think of that, Ola?
Well, I think there are a few sort of points that I would sort of make around here. And you know, one of my favorite things. How do we know there are 8 billions of people on the planet? Where is the proof of that? Where you know, other than on the internet, there is a number. Where is the proof of that? How many are we? I don't know. Maybe we are 4, maybe we are 6, maybe we are 20. How do we know how many? We don't know. The truth is we don't know. We know what they tell us. And that probably is another lie. So that's the last thing I remember from what you said. I'm going to try to go back to other points. And, you know, I would say that this, I'm not sure about, I'm not sort of sure whether I see that in the same way, because again, from what we know about the reincarnation mechanism is that nobody here, unless you know how to die and escape it, if you know how to die and escape it, you're good. You're gonna go out of this, from under the dome, right? Whichever way you do it, you can get out of here. But if you don't know how to die, there is no choosing. There is no rebellion, there is no choosing, there is no misbehaving, there is no discussing and arguing with some spirit guides. That's also kind of feels a little bit like you know, Dolores Cannon and the contracts ideas.
Oh boy,
right. But it's pretty much done to you. It is not decided with you. There is sort of no counsel around it. And I would also be probably quite careful in sort of thinking that some future children have more to say about your life than you do, when they are equal souls like us or like others. So I think that we are more looking at, you know, more of the kind of cultural context in which this game is now playing out. And of course, I agree that, you know, back in a day, you would meet the sort of first person, you would fall in love, and you would spend the whole life with them. But, you know, let's not forget that this game is about creating energy for the archons. That's the food. And the energy created is created in all sorts of ways. It could be the energy of it is only about lowest vibrational. David Icke talks about it as well. Lowest vibrational energies: fear, shame, sort of misery, suffering, etc., lying, illusions, and so on. So you know, back in the day, where we may not have had such a complicated dating scene or, you know, relationship sort of scene, well, we had other entertaining things, such as wars, such as famine, such as, you know, poor living conditions. That would have kept people in a certain state. That was enough to generate the good food. Right now, we have advanced in many ways, or we have been allowed to advance in many ways. And right now, we are sort of steered towards different way of creating misery, which is through the heartache, through suffering. So the fact that, of course, with technology comes the fact that you're gonna connect not with the girl next door only, but you're gonna connect with the girl on the other side of the ocean, and you're gonna meet people from across the world. That is obviously creating all these other potentials for creating heartache and suffering, because people are, I mean, look at what's going on out there. People are so traumatized. People are so, I mean, the whole TikTok is just it's just reeks of people who need to be in, I don't want to say in therapy because I don't believe in therapy, but they should be really doing some inner work, so and these people are going out there and telling other people how to live, and so also in that dating scene, I mean, look at all those programs created out there right now, right, based on that kind of love is blind, married at first sight and all that. It all promotes basically people getting together to create some sort of toxicity so that they can repel after a few weeks, few months, or a year top, so that they can go and continue that pattern with someone else. That is food. That's food as well. And I think that this is more a result of the times that we are living, as in there is internet, there is travel available, we have funds for that, we can meet different people, internet, the dating sites, etc., etc. Of course, it's going to create much more opportunity. Back in the day, that opportunity was not available. You would not meet people from another country. You would not meet people from across the world. You would meet people within your immediate environment. And also culturally, as in sexually, there was that kind of openness was not there. So you would be kind of sticking to whatever you can grab, right? Rather than waiting for the Prince Charming and waiting for another better option, which is precisely what's happening with the dating apps. So we kind of, I think we have sort of a lot of different aspects feeding into this context right now. I just think that for any time there will be a scenario that corresponds to literally what that time, what that era, what the technology brings, and that's what's happening now. There is obviously cultural context of people moving away from keeping sexuality sacred, from keeping relationships sacred. That is part of the biggest problem. You probably know me from speaking about alchemy, feminine alchemy as well, from keeping it a very big issue sort of in the background, which really is the root of everything that is happening, or the true reason for how everything is playing out is the fact that there is a war on women that has been going on forever in different shapes and forms, from keeping women suffering and sort of not important, losing their not just position, but losing their rights, being unequal, being abused, and sacrificing, to now where women are exploited in different ways. I'm not saying that I'm not speaking against men. I'm just saying specifically about women, because as it happens, women are very critical in the current times, and all ancient prophecies or indigenous prophecies talk about the current time and talking about the importance of a woman and coming back in the alchemy, in that alchemical aspect. Why? Because that alchemical aspect is specifically what's been missing, and on purpose has been targeted so that this realm can be controlled. Because when women can be can again have access to that alchemy that we naturally represent, to that alchemical essence, we are able to bring into this realm certain energies that would immediately disperse and transform and basically bring this matrix down, because it is about dispersing this low vibrational energy, which these beings love to operate in. That's where they need to be. It needs to be kept in low vibrational energies. This is why we have wars that are engineered. We don't have real wars. We don't have nations choosing to go against each other. We have wars that are engineered because that keeps people scared. That keeps people in a certain state. That's why we have, other things being sort of brought upon us so that we can take part in that game, such as the love game, such as promiscuity, such as, all these other things that keep people in low vibrational state and traumatized. Why? And specifically women here are the biggest sort of target, because we are designed in a certain way that we can bring in, just like we bring children into this reality. As it happens, we can bring so much more, but we cannot do that as long as we remain in that low vibrational state, in that low vibrational emotion. Let's not use the new agey language. In the low vibration emotions, then unfortunately we only create what we reflect, which is that low vibrational world. So you see, there is something more that's behind here that people have no real recognition of, and that's and the way things play out and pan out, I think is very much to sort of move the focus, and never for us to have enough capacity and to have enough time to remember and to connect, to get back to ourselves and our inner essence, because we are busy. We're busy chasing our love life. We're busy chasing our career. We're busy chasing the paycheck. We're busy, looking down another rabbit hole. We're busy following the next big story on the media. And for the awakens, chasing the new discovery for the awakened. So everything designed to effectively keep you sort of away from that essence, not focus on what you should be focusing. Distraction.
There's definitely a design going on. And I saw as well that it's not actually only low vibration that they feed off of. Yes, they primarily feed off of the low vibrations. That forms like a sort of a more solid substance that they can consume. The higher vibrations as well, it forms a more liquid substance, and they feed off of that as well. So unfortunately, it's both of our quote unquote higher vibes, if we want to, like you said, use the new age terms, and the lower vibes. So it's, for me, how I see it as well is using our own emotions, no matter what they are, channeling them, and just making sure they're not stagnant, because you're right, there's definitely a misery template going on for women around this world. If we learn to not only heal, because we don't want to, use the whole toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing that's promoted in the new age, where you pretty much invalidate your suffering. But if we learn how to channel that, use it in motion, use it, turn that stagnant energy into kinetic energy, I think that's also very important. And in Crimes of the Gods, I note how many of these technologies that we enjoy today, that, like you said, are keeping us very busy, radio, the internet, telecommunications, a lot of that was designed in top secret military research facilities. It was military first before it became commercialized. And part of the reason for that was this program, this agenda. Before the technological revolution, before the industrial age, most humans were living very rural lives where, like we said, you can make those more close personal connections. things weren't so globalized back then. And part of the reason why they're making everything so industrialized, global, cloud-based, and that's going to be a very important concept later, but that was, again, part of this virtual machine. So, and Christian Sundberg is a frequent guest on a lot of these NDE podcasts, and he claims that he planned his life and that he, got this sort of pre-birth virtual planning going on. And again, I think that what he saw was something like this, where you sort of see these sort of paths with interconnected nodes. And pretty much when you have, finished designing your life, or at least when you think you do, when you've, made your interconnected dots, I saw that it rolls up into this sort of ball that, again, only some people come in with. Again, the Zodiac mechanism that predetermines a lot of the life experiences that a lot of people claim that they chose, but it's part of this this overall astrological mechanism that's really keeping us in not even only a lower vibrational state, but keeping us in the program, the overall program. Yes, primarily for low emotions, but unfortunately, I saw that even some of our higher emotions, they don't seem to be getting so much at love, a deep unconditional love, but things like feeling, excitement and joy. And it's very hard to talk about this because I don't want to make it seem to people, oh, you must be stoic and you must be, you can't enjoy life, you can't feel anything, don't do this, don't do that. Or even like the Buddhists who believe that you should give up everything in your life, just wear robes and sandals, shave your hair, and go live in the mountains. I think that there's a different way, and that's for a whole another video, and we can talk about more solutions as well. But there's definitely so many different traditions are trying to find a way to, like you said, escape this mechanism, this sort of pre-planned, predetermined thing going on. So it's all very fascinating. So before we get to our last little segment, what would you like to add about that?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not exactly I'm not aware of this man that you've mentioned, but immediately I would ask a question. So if he designed his life, and if that's how it, well, if he's aware of that design and he remembers that, then
Yes.
What if he changes his mind? Can he change his mind?
Yes,
What if he,
question.
what if he changes his mind now, right? What happens? And also, if he's designed his life and it's like and I'm not saying that that's not, let's put it this way. I know that the design is there. I don't see that we are aware of it. So I'm not sure what is he representing, what kind of agenda is he trying to run here. But can he fast track then what's the point of taking 50 years or 70 years? Why not just jump to the last point, right? I mean, why don't you do that? If you were aware of the whole thing, then save yourself time, go and fast track. Why not? Yeah, what's the point? So and I'm just yeah, I don't really see that we have an insight into that. I feel that these tools like astrology, numerology, human design, they show us something out of that design. They show us very much about how we are programmed, what's the trauma, they also show us that kind of, I call it that parts of the soul on a drip are kind of trying to connect to us. So that's also actually included in the code. It's not that the whole code, the whole astrology, numerology represent only bad things that are from the matrix. It is not like that. It is a bit of a mix, with majority being unfortunately controlling and sort of matrix based. But I would definitely say that, you know, according to the ancient texts, according to the indigenous teachings, which I find them to be most reliable. Why? Because it was oral tradition. A lot of it was oral tradition, very much women's wisdom. Remember that written tradition is changed. Written tradition is controlled. The victors are writing the history, not the losers. So we need to be able to reconcile against some of the other accounts, and those other accounts are painting a different story. They're painting a different picture. They're painting a picture of not us being sort of totally like you say, the sort of I think there is a lot of misinterpretations that went into Buddhism, went into the those sort of male dominated religions, practices. That's where it all comes from, because originally the teachings were very much based in feminine wisdom. So before patriarchy, I don't want to call it matriarchy, because it was more like the reverence to the feminine, and that time was golden age. That time was totally different reality. So a lot of those old teachings have been distorted. So you know, what women would have done as an alchemical journey became a meditation. But that's not, you know, mimicking a woman in an alchemical journey does not give you the same result as a man meditating. And now what women are doing, trying to meditate, which is literally mimicking themselves, stepping into their essence. So I think we kind of I think there's a lot of value in still exploring what we know based on those indigenous teachings, on that ancient wisdom, because it kind of, I think the picture looks a little bit different. It is definitely talking about this reality being controlled, and of course it is talking about us being caught in a net, literally how the picture looks like here. Very good. But I would say that you know, if somebody claims to remember that they came up with their a plan for life, then I would say that you know, consciously or subconsciously, they are promoting the Archon's agenda, which is they trying to sell us that this is a positive, benevolent thing, and that we have
Yes.
chosen, which is pretty much what New Age tries to tell us.
Yes.
And I'm saying, no, we have not. No, you did not have any say in the kind of code you have received, and you, first of all, you shouldn't be getting any code. You shouldn't be evolving or not according to any predetermined scenario. Whose plan are you delivering? Why do you have to deliver someone else's plan rather than, you know, sort of choose as you go, or, you know, just live without a plan? Just have an amazing life without needing to pursue or overcome anything. That's a question.
Yes, that is exactly what my point was. Oh, you just said it so perfectly. The agenda, because like you said, you know, what's the point of all this? All of these, you know, NDE reports that are clearly trying to make us believe that, you know, there's nothing to worry about. You're going to be greeted by pleasant spirit guides and everything's going to be fine. I completely agree with you. It's to make people feel more comfortable about the reincarnation cycle, make them more compliant, less resistant. And it's the agenda of, you know, essentially, you know, resistance is futile. You cannot, but you shouldn't even want to go against us, because
Right.
they're trying to make us feel like they're the good guys. So I really
Exactly.
like how you said that.
So yeah, so it's very much, you know, a lot of that's where discernment comes in, and you have to really be on guard all the time, because you see, this is where mixing 80% of truth with 20% of lies comes in. And that is done ever so slightly and subtly and skillfully, so that you just don't notice. Most of the people will not notice that, you know, a lie or some kind of agenda is being smuggled underneath this beautifully presented you know, fact, which will actually, hold on a minute, I don't remember planning my life. I don't remember choosing that, you know, I want to have certain traumas or certain patterns or some kind of generational trauma that I need to, you know, escape, or I need to heal, or whatever. I didn't plan that. That's nonsense. I'm not buying it.
Yes, excellent point. How are you doing on time, Ola? Do you have some more time for, this is the last slide, just some questions and comments here?
So just looking at this slide, I feel like, you know, we could have another whole program out of that.
Oh, no.
Don't let me get into that. So it's really up to you, if you what you want to do. Do you, because I'm also conscious of sort of not keeping people for too long, because I know it gets a little bit.
Ola, I could talk to you for hours, but the way I'm going to ask these questions, it's not going to. Pretty much the first one, Matrix login. I was just going to say that how I thought it was really funny how you called your name your Matrix login. I love that.
Right.
It wasn't really a question. It was more like a comment. And the second one, Gnostic Insights, that really essentially just goes into 3 and 4, Jesus and Sophia. I've heard you speak about Jesus as, according to the Pistis Sophia, or at least the interpretation is that he reduced he took a third of the load off of the plight of human beings, that he sort of reduced it by 1/3.
Right. So looking from an astrology perspective, literally being able to see that through that lens, it is literally, he is reducing the influence of the zodiac by 1/3.
And why would he help us to do that?
Well, I think we have to kind of understand the whole concept of Jesus, right? And why would he help us? I don't think it is precisely describing that he helped us and the importance of him, or, you know, because of course we can get into the whole discussion whether he even existed or not, because the story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene resembles very much the teachings that we already would have gotten from before, right? So
Yes,
this is
yes.
kind of a repeated story of Isis and Osiris. This is a repeated story of Buddha. This is a repeated story of Inanna
and Dumuzi.
Absolutely. So this is not a sort of first in history, you know, somebody came to save us. I think that we have to be very aware that the story is pretty much universal. It is repeated across different geographies, across different times. So there is a universal teaching that emerges from that. That's how we need to look at it, whether he existed or not, whether, you know, there was parts of someone's story that were kind of used, probably, but I think the sort of the transcending takeaway here is that there is a certain teaching that's been packaged here, which I'm not gonna lie. All these stories are based on feminine wisdom teachings, all of them, whether that's Egypt, Mesopotamia, whether that's Jesus and Mary Magdalene, anything, Freya here up north, the same. So there is certain feminine wisdom about this realm, about reincarnation, which is, by the way, so there's certain things that can be facilitated only by a woman, but in the times of patriarchy, when women obviously did not have a voice, a story couldn't be told by a woman. It couldn't be attributed to a woman, because that would never gain any traction. So this is why, if you look through the Gnostic texts, through the Apocrypha, you see that importance of feminine figures is much stronger than what we find in the Bible. The Bible is very sort of male based, as in it's Jesus, it's the Godfather, and all the good stuff. And of course, Mary Magdalene is, she doesn't get a great marketing there. But if you look to the Gnostic text, it looks totally different. The importance of Mary Magdalene in the whole story becomes very profound, and you start discovering that the teachings, the words, literally what comes out of his mouth, are the teachings of Mary Magdalene. So there is a bit of a different story. It is, I wouldn't look at it in a sort of direct way, as in literally the person of Jesus ascended and did something. There is a teaching. It is a symbolic, parabolic kind of teaching, which says that there is a certain way, there is a certain wisdom that we can enter into and embody and live out. And as a result of that, we escape this matrix. We escape the influence of the zodiac. We escape the influence of this network, of this net, right? Pisces, the age of Pisces, and the Pope as the fisherman with a net for our souls. So
Yes.
there's certain wisdom about reincarnation, not reincarnation, about how to die, resurrection, which enables us to escape this control mechanism. That, I think, is the takeaway here. Not specifically that Jesus is the savior. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted clarification on that.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody looks at Jesus as a savior, then you've missed the point. Then and I'm sorry, but reading the Bible without understanding the deeper meaning and the alchemical meanings here is just not going to help. People read the Bible and take it literally without alchemical lens. Jesus is not your savior. Jesus has been telling a story how every single one of us, what is the way? That's what he was showing. He was showing the way. The way was, by the way, the wisdom and the teachings of women, carried later in the form of teachings of the witches, the wisdom of the witches that they got burnt at the stake for example, right? Not some black magic or anything like that. It's alchemical. This is alchemical wisdom. Something that I, by the way, talk a lot about in some of my other chats, but also by the way, at the Gnostic conference, right, in Chicago, I covered that. So it's not about him saving us. It is not even about him necessarily being a, some kind of personification of, no, he is just showing the way. This is just a story of how to do it.
Thank you for that. I wanted a clarification because I think that you weren't given an opportunity to flesh that out in some of your previous interviews where you said that. And in the comment section, some of us were like, she said that, Jesus reduced it by a third. Does that mean that our suffering is reduced by a third? So I'm glad that you.
No, not at all. This is a blueprint. This is showing the way. This is a parable, right? Capturing the recipe for every single one of us. He did not do anything to me. He did not save me. He did not save anybody here. This is a recipe. We have been given a recipe. We have been given a reminder, sort of an encapsulated version of certain teachings which tell us how do we escape this matrix.
I really like what you said about how he was essentially pointing to the maternal wisdom, and how you brought up Mary Magdalene. Because I always say that in the Holy Temple or the Tabernacle, when Moses was said to have received information directly from God, I always like to say that who he was really speaking to was his wife Zipporah, and that she was the one that was bringing that information in behind the curtain, the holy place that no one else could cross. But then when Moses would emerge from that, he would say, I received this new instructions from God, but who he was really speaking to was his wife Zipporah. So I'm really glad you brought in that Mary Magdalene aspect as well, that's really, it was really the maternal wisdom that they were getting that from. So that's great.
Yeah, and you know, that motive of remember, we are in deep patriarchy, right, throughout all these times. So of course all the wisdom is going to be attributed to men, and there's never going to be any recognition of a woman. But actually, and remember that in patriarchy, most women who are unruly, meaning they do not follow what the patriarchy has decided for them, well, they get very bad marketing. They get usually called demons or prostitutes, right? I mean, that's your only two options out there. So we're dealing with another way of trying to smuggle these teachings, and that would be the way. So very often, I would argue all day long that a lot of Hermetic teachings are teachings of women. This is wisdom of women, but of course, it couldn't have been officially ascribed to any woman. Not in those times. Wisdom of Mary Magdalene, wisdom of any Mary, because Mary is not a name, it's a title, would never be ascribed to a woman in those times. And many of those so-called rulers or kings, Solomon as well, right? That is a lot of influence of a woman next to them.
Speaking of the wisdom of women, who do you think Sophia is, who a lot of New Agers say represents wisdom?
Well, Sophia is not to be understood as a person or personification. Sophia is the wisdom, but of what? Not some kind of mental wisdom. Sophia represents the womb. Sophia represents the womb and the wisdom of the womb, opposed to the wisdom of the mind or the mind itself. Because and this is what Sophia literally encapsulates. So Sophia is not to be understood as some kind of figure, person. It is to be understood as that feminine alchemical wisdom of your womb, wisdom of the Holy Grail. Meaning what? Well, look at the quite prehistoric figures and of Venus, so-called, they've been called Venus. They were found all over the place. They were found across Europe, in that Mediterranean area. A lot of those were found, and they so kind of voluptuous figures, feminine figures, right?
Yes, especially throughout Turkey as well. Yes,
right, exactly. Crete, Turkey, that sort of Greek islands, current Italian islands as well. We find, and in Germany, right, or Austria, we found throughout time, we found a lot of those figures. And the interesting thing about them, they've been referred to as Venus, because it is a female. It's a female figure with quite voluptuous shapes, big breasts, and sort of curvy, very curvy. But the head is even missing on purpose. It's just not been ever placed there, or it is very disproportionate to the rest of the body. It's very small, and you know, this is not as a result of the whoever made them obviously having no sense of proportion, because everything else is in proportion. Everything else is very representative of what those figures were, but the head is missing, because in the feminine teachings lines, specifically, we know that women would warn against the mind, that the mind, and which obviously later makes its way into shamanism, right? The two minds, that we are controlled, the mind is controlled, etc. So the mind, the head, is never to be trusted. There is another. Why? Because we know what the gods, the fake gods, what did they do? How did they design this matrix? Why is even Zodiac? Why can Zodiac work? What is the link? What is the process? What is the mechanism of that having an effect on us? Where there obviously must be some kind of receiver within us. Yes, it is.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
The
it
brain
is.
is a receiver, yes.
Well, yeah, the third eye is the receiver. We have the chakra overlay, right, which all the chakras communicating with a different sort of planet, part of this whole mechanism. But specifically, these women and that wisdom that's being captured here is talking about connecting with the womb. The womb is not, the womb is the portal. This is a bigger discussion. This is not something that I can explain within sort of one paragraph here, but it is talking about connecting to that womb, or perhaps listening to the wisdom of the womb, opposed to any other form of intellectual capacity. Why? Because what's in the head, what's in the mind, is controlled by the matrix. Subconscious is an implant. What you think, you know, the mind is very much based on sort of survival. It's very much fear based. It is not intuition. It is based on survival, fear. It is based on mind control as well. So whatever is being streamed onto the mind is not necessarily the true representation or the true wisdom that you should be listening to.
Yeah, I like to talk about the mind, heart, womb connection, how the womb is a portal. Let's actually get into that. I know that you said that it's a huge discussion, but that actually leads perfectly into the next point here, the God particle. Now, when the God particle was announced, the scientist who announced it, a lot of people were very offended by the shirt he wore when he was televising the announcement of the so-called Higgs boson. It was this sort of like Hawaiian or button-down shirt with women in bikinis all around it. And a lot of people were very offended by that. They're like, oh, look at this scientist wearing such a scandalous shirt. But I think that there was a little bit of code in that. The boson, what a boson is, how it's depicted is this, a spiral. A boson is actually a vibration. And when I see pregnant women out of body, there is literally this this very gentle, it's not a violent tornado-like thing, but it's this very gentle vortex that reaches all the way up into the sky. A lot of pre-birth and NDE accounts state how they remember before coming into this life, they had to enter this sort of vortex, this sort of well that's dipped into, I saw it as the level that this occurs is the troposphere. Details don't matter, but the point is, it's a download. Like you said, the womb is the portal. It's the jack into this matrix. And what the God particle was essentially announcing, what they were really announcing was they have figured out a way, the scientists, the male scientists had figured out this artificial way to hack into the a sort of practice that ancient women, we can call them the wise women of old, or the witches of old, knew how to do, which is to bring specific people into into incarnation, into a baby body, rather than letting it be a random choice. And I saw that this is actually what they do in royal families as well, that when a royal is with child, there's a point, at some point during her pregnancy, and it typically has to be before the second trimester, she has to undergo this ritual where these ancient, these wise women who know about the ancient knowledge would sort of be around her in this sort of ritual where they are bringing in or calling in a specific person to be reborn into that royal family. And that's how they're able to ensure, because you don't want to risk it, so that you don't want to accidentally be reborn into a poor family. They want to be reborn into the same royal families. This is one of the reasons why Diana was killed, because she got pregnant by that other guy, that the Arab gentleman, and she was going to bring in one of the royals too early, pretty much who Prince Archie is now. They were worried that Diana was going to bring him in too early. And I saw that Prince Archie is actually the reincarnation of Queen Charlotte, which is why their names sound so similar. But anyway, those are details. The point is, the God particle, first of all, they didn't invent anything. They didn't discover anything new. They essentially, unfortunately, learned how to tap into that ancient maternal wisdom and knowledge of how to bring in your own child, which I think you talk about a lot. And they're essentially, it's like Frankenstein. They're trying to tap into, they want to be able to do this with artificial wombs and not have to rely on women anymore to bring in specific reincarnated people. And yeah, so it's this sort of this sort of gentle vortex around every pregnant woman. That's actually one of the ways that I can tell if a woman is pregnant or not, is if she has this sort of a very gentle, not tornado, but this sort of gentle vortex that leads from her belly all the way up into the sky. But yeah, the womb is the portal. So, but I do like what you say in your other talks, that it's not just birthing people that we can do. We were sort of just limited to that, but birthing realities, birthing circumstances, birthing pretty much anything we want. So would you like to make a note on that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that first of all, my favorite word, God, right? Of course, it's. I mean, isn't that just so typical, right? That's
why I put it in quotes.
Yeah, right. When they, but that's what it is, right? I mean, that's what they called it, right? They didn't call it anything else. This is not your sort of phrase. This is what they came up with on purpose, of course, because when they sort of scientifically get their hands on well, a natural aspect of feminine alchemy, they need to put a god type of spin on it. And why do I get why is my reaction to God? Because remember that in this reality, right, God, and I know that a lot of people are talking about no, I'm not interested in any religion or anything, but God is God. Yeah, God is God. I'm sorry, but you have to snap out of the programming as well that there is no God in this reality other than the archons who created it. And whether you subscribe to any religion or not, if you are praying to some god thinking that the god is the source or anything like that, or some kind of super benevolent force, that's irrelevant. That intention is irrelevant, because God in this realm, the gods of this realm are the archons. That's how it is. So all your efforts are going in the same direction. So this is such an interesting spin of words, right? On purpose, obviously, that they ascribe that they literally hijack
Yes.
something that belongs to women, something that belongs to the feminine alchemy. And mind you, this is not about ancient tradition only. This is, we call it ancient tradition because wisdom around it was available and practiced back then. And right now, or for a very long time, we have been disconnected from that wisdom.
Yes.
It's been kind of
Yes.
forgotten, but it is not irrelevant to us. We as women are still built in the same way, so it is still available here. And what you describe as that vortex tornado kind of I know exactly what you're talking about, because in feminine alchemy, that concept of spinning, of that
Yes.
concept of the vortex, of that spiral, is a critical, it's a key aspect to the sort of connection of the womb with the upper kingdom and the lower kingdom, but not upper kingdom in a context of connecting to the reincarnation machine so that you can pull down, whatever they want, right? Which is exactly what they did. They hijacked that.
Yes.
And why? Because we have been a woman if a woman is connected by that vortex to the upper kingdom and the lower kingdom, we are the tree of life. A woman, this is not new age, this is the alchemy. A woman is a reflection of how this world is, how this world is in the energetic structure of this world. The Yggdrasil, right? It is also going across different realms. A woman is constructed in the same way, or should be constructed, with those kind of vortices reaching out to the upper kingdom and lower kingdom. By upper kingdom, I don't mean reincarnation mechanism. I'm talking about going beyond. But part of the reason why they've created the dome is to disconnect us from going or being able to reach the upper kingdom meaning what? Well, the Milky Way galaxy out there, specifically the black hole, which holds that's the galactic womb. So we need to be, for them to be able to control this realm, a woman needs to be disconnected from that galactic womb and from the earth womb. Because why? Because this is where we would be pooling this unlimited potential that later we could be materializing into this reality. So you see, they have basically hijacked a natural alchemical ability of a woman. They redirected that. So they are now, of course, part of the function would be to connect with that child pre-birth and sort of have that dialogue with the soul of a child, so that you are bringing you know the kind of soul that you are bringing, so the whole conscious, the whole conscious birth and conscious conception once upon a time looked like that. It wasn't a result of sort of random encounter.
Random, yes.
Right? And then you find out from a test that you're pregnant. No.
Yes.
It would have been pre-planned. It would have been pre-planned long time before conception. So that kind of dialogue with the soul of a baby would have happened long time ago, and that would have been a result of alchemy. So this is not only royal families or only those them that know. It is every single woman on earth that has the capacity and is built in this way. But the problem is, most of the women have no idea what we're talking about.
Yes.
And even if they have an idea what we're talking about, they have no idea how to work with it, how to activate it, right? What is this even connected to? Like, how does this operate? What are we even talking about, right? So that's the issue, and this is partially why women have been kept in the dark for a very long time, and this wisdom is now coming like some kind of ridiculous idea, right? Because this is how far we have been driven out of that essence and element.
In your last talk in Chicago, you mentioned the woman crowned with the 12 stars with the moon at her feet. Now, from a biologist perspective, the moon at her feet, that makes me think of the crone. That makes me think of menopause. Ola, please don't tell me that I have to wait until menopause before I can tap into my crone energies.
No. This is not what that means. Okay, what I was explaining there was a specific sign that would initiate the apocalypse. That sign, a woman with a crown of 12 stars and the moon at her feet, and she was pregnant with a child. That is a cosmic event. This is a description of a cosmic event, because of course in prophecies there wouldn't be a date given. There would be some kind of reference to a celestial event, so that you can sort of look out for it, right? And then when it happens, you know, okay, this is the prophecy, this is the time, this is now the clock started ticking. So what we're dealing there is an event described in the apocalypse, and it is referring to a celestial event, specifically an event that took place on the 23rd of September 2017, so the fall equinox 2017, where the constellation Virgo, we have the Virgo constellation, Virgo. The sun would have just entered, so a woman clothed in the sun. The sun just entered constellation Virgo with the crown of 12 stars. The 12 stars are the stars of constellation Leo, which precedes Virgo, so that would be above her head, plus 3 planets: Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Altogether, the 12. That's also a sign that's very often depicted in a lot of churches. You can see a woman with 12 stars above her head. This kind of sign. It predates apocalypse. Apocalypse just captured that. That prophecy is older than the apocalypse, and the moon at her feet, because literally in a context of what was happening at the sky, the moon was leaving constellation Virgo and entering into Libra. But that sign needs to be understood alchemically. It is not just a timestamp information. It is something much more. The woman finally, after thousands of years of oppression, is taking the moon under her feet. So the moon used to rule women. The moon has been put into the sky to control women, and that's why we have the whole New Age movement, totally flipping this whole narrative and having women worship the moon and do the rituals and enhancing its energy, whereas finally the woman is taking the moon under her feet. So what does that mean? Alchemically, it means that the power of the moon over women has now been sort of switched off, if you like. The moon has not the power to control women. That mechanism, that matrix mechanism of moon control over women, has lost its grip. You might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, so why hasn't much changed? Well, it has changed. It has changed, but most women continue to still voluntarily worship the moon, participate in all sorts of weird circles and rituals, or there is this whole notion of still giving the moon energy by linking your moods and your reactions to the moon. And I'm not saying that the moon is not has not been influencing that. It was, but by us constantly linking and giving it attention, we're just making it worse. So that is literally a description of a celestial event which sort of kickstarts the apocalypse. Apocalypse as in the end of the world as we know it, Ragnarok. Good news. This is not bad news. This is not to be feared. This is the end of the old paradigm. This is the end of the matrix. This is one of the reasons why things have been getting so crazy in the recent years. Because the ones in control of this realm are losing the grip over this realm. And they knew that. This is not news. This is for us, maybe, right? For many people, it is news, but not for them. They've known about it for millennia. Those, they knew the exact time. They've been preparing for this. They cannot stop it. They cannot stop it because we are dealing with very big cycles, cosmic cycles that they have no control over. So they cannot stop it. The only thing that they can do is they can try to manipulate us and our response to it. And that's what they've been doing.
Yes, I really like what you said there. And I always like to see if there's a multidimensional aspect to certain, even the cosmic or celestial events. Because again, as a biologist, a woman standing over the moon, I definitely agree with your interpretation as overall the moon's sway over us waning, if you will, or even just being completely gone. Another vantage point to look at it as well in terms of an individual woman's lifetime, when she sort of overcomes the moon cycles during menopause. Because like you said, the three aspects of a woman are exemplified in, for example, like the three fates or the triple goddess, the maiden, mother, crone. These really are stages of a woman's life cycle and of a woman's hormonal cycles. And the three different colors, the white, red, and black. I really, really loved how you described that. And I was just wondering if there were certain abilities or things that we can tap into only when we reach that crone stage. That, for example, like let's say if you're only in the maiden stage, obviously younger women are more, sort of naive. They don't know too much yet, but when they are older, they have a lot more wisdom. And if there was a way to sort of bridge that, I think that one of the worst things that has occurred was in older times, which is still practiced in some indigenous cultures. The older women would speak to the younger women and sort of give them advice. They'd sort of like have these get-togethers where older women and the younger women and girls would, do an activity together, and the older women would share their advice and experience to the younger women. That way, they don't make the same kind of mistakes that that they made. But that has sort of been taken away in a lot of different ways, where old people are just shunned off into nursing homes, and we don't listen to their wisdom anymore. The elderly, the seniors. And I think that that's also contributed to this disconnect of a woman and the three archetypal aspects of her. So, which I guess leads to the next point as well, the second to the last, old maternal wisdom. Ola, what do you have to say about what I just said, and what draws you specifically to the old maternal wisdom?
So I think that I need to stress here very strongly, so that we do not misunderstand here, that the three alchemical aspects, these are not archetypes, these are three alchemical aspects specifically referring to certain capacities and capabilities of hormonal system as a whole, not age related. This is not about age. So those three aspects are aspects related to different sort of functions that and functions relating to what a woman is capable of using those three different aspects, but they need to be always available to a woman regardless of age. So of course we can say that woman might represent each aspect according to her age, as in the younger women, the sort of the women before they start menstruating, that could be connected to the maiden aspect. The women in during her menstruation years, that's the mother creator aspect, and the woman post menopause, that's the shaman, witch. However, this is a misunderstanding if we are going to ascribe it in a sense that a woman at a certain age is a maiden, is a witch. That's a misinterpretation. I think maybe New Age does that. But the true meaning of these three aspects is about what are they responsible for. So the maiden aspect, in reality, this is an aspect relating to full activation of the hormonal system as a result of activation of the remaining DNA strands. Why? Because there's something written in our so-called junk DNA that is not available within the two strands that we have on stream. So women would have known. I'm not talking weird practices. I'm not talking about that. This is, this is kind of a topic that would take a whole separate conversation. But in that maiden aspect, a woman is the weaver. A woman is weaving. She is, and the aspect of weaving obviously connected to the threads, as in threads of DNA. That aspect is related to activation of the remaining DNA strands because of certain qualities written into that those parts of DNA, such as what? Such as perfect health, such as ability to create your own destiny outside of the matrix. This is a little bit more complicated, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Such as parthenogenesis, hence Virgin Mary, the Immaculate Conception, virgin birth. It wasn't about the fact that she was very young, or it wasn't about the fact that she never slept with a man. It was about the fact that she conceived without participation of a male. That's the virgin alchemical aspect. That's where it is written. It is written in the DNA. Then the mother aspect, the creator aspect, is about the aspect of materializing, birthing into this reality, remnants of which, or perhaps the downgrade of which has been, we've been downgraded to birthing children only. We don't know how to birth anything else, how to materialize anything else.
Yes.
We do that, but we don't know how. Most women have no clue about what I'm talking about, right? Unfortunately. So that mother aspect is to do with a woman's capacity to materialize things into this reality, to use the portal, to use the Holy Grail and materialize things bring them into being in this reality. And finally, the shaman witch crone is linked to that's that black aspect. It is linked to a woman's ability to contact that field of unlimited potential, or the sort of transcend the void, or 0-point field, as quantum physics calls it. So ability to transform, transmute, turn lead into gold, which is what alchemy is about, but not in a context, obviously, of elements. Lead into gold. That's masculine alchemy, in a context of transmuting lower vibrational energies into higher vibrational energies. Ability to dissolve illusions, to expose lies. So in a sense, a woman in her witch aspect, alchemical aspect, is the most powerful, perhaps. Whereas maybe I wouldn't really compare them. I wouldn't really give them any hierarchy here, but I just want I want everybody to understand why the witch aspect is so feared. And it's not actually connected to age. Let's make that clear distinction, that a woman in her post-menopause age might be a representation of that aspect, but unless a woman at any age has activated and has sort of access to all three of those aspects, because they are all responsible for different things, they need to work together. If they don't work together at every age, whether you're 20, 40, or 80, then there is no alchemy. So this is not age related. This is it is these three aspects, they need to be always available. And I think that probably the biggest thing that women need to remember is that women need to maintain their virgin maiden aspect throughout their whole life. And of course, that aspect has nothing to do with celibacy or sort of, not ever having any sexual contact with anyone ever in your life from the beginning to the end. No, that has nothing to do with that. This is a misunderstanding of the teachings. The purity of a virgin maiden is linked to the purity of the grail, as in what kind of energy, as in what kind of emotional state are you keeping yourself, are you keeping the grail in, as in, is it full of guilt, shame, fear, abuse? Are we engaging in low vibrational sex based on lust, sport, etc., which is or are we sacrificing the womb in exchange for financial security, or being flown to Dubai, as it's been very much popular these days? So so that's the deeper meaning of this alchemical context. And a woman, so what does it mean that a woman needs to remain a virgin? It means that she needs to remain in a certain more emotional state, as in she needs to have self-respect, she needs to have self-love. She does not engage in sexual contacts out of lust or pure sort of sexual desire, but out of love, out of higher emotions. So I don't know if that makes sense for people that are listening, but those three aspects, they are very much linked to our emotional sort of state, emotional well-being, because obviously the emotional well-being translates immediately onto the hormonal system, and the alchemy is sort of underlined by secretions that the body is producing. And whether the body is producing secretions that are kind of empty, or are they alchemical, this is the science behind alchemy. And are they alchemical, as in, is there something in them to create this magic or not?
Very good. I like what you said about all three aspects, the maiden, mother, crone, working together, available at all stages of a woman's life. And what you said there about the maintaining the maiden aspect, I like to say that women should be guardians of the portal, that we should be careful who we let in and out. So both who
Absolutely.
we are engaging in romantic activity with, who we are intimate with, as well as we spoke about before, who we are letting through our gates, who we are birthing. The art of getting to know your child before you conceive them, like you said, that's been completely lost. And now it's just random, like, oops, I'm pregnant and I don't even know who I'm going to get. Exactly. And then you have all these women now who are these mothers saying, I don't know who I birthed. I don't understand my child. I don't know who this is. And all these toxic relationships. And it's like, that connection is gone with who we're letting in and who we're letting out. So I definitely like the points you brought up there. We do need to bring back that art of women being the guardians of the gates, the guardians of the portal, and being more, like you said, emotionally and consciously aware of what we bring in, and have more conscious awareness of our power.
Yeah, and I think it's very important for women to actually understand what that power is, because obviously it goes way beyond conscious conception. That's really a small part of it, because a woman doesn't even have to be a mother physically to any child for her to be in that alchemy, right? And to be an alchemical woman, and of course that magic, that alchemical magic of a woman is about ability to connect to that unlimited potential field of unlimited potential and materialize into this reality anything that she wants, with her own destiny and the destiny, for example, of a man that she's with, meaning a woman who is in her alchemy is not controlled by this matrix, is not controlled by the zodiac. She can have abundance, she can have perfect health. There is no healing. Healing is another program. If you embody alchemy, you naturally heal, because you would have activated that part of DNA responsible for full regeneration and rejuvenation. So we don't need any level of healing. We don't need to heal trauma, because once you go through that alchemical sort of reactivation, the soul, natural part, a woman is a shaman, right? In that third alchemical aspect, a woman is, by the way, implosive, right? Implosive. Man is explosive, a woman is implosive. So she will pull naturally, not by some kind of set of affirmations or intentions, but it just happens naturally that she immediately calls in all those fragmented pieces of her soul, so she regains wholeness. This whole process is quite sort of natural and automatic. It is not steered by meditations. It is not achieved by intentions, setting intentions, or burning candles. It is part of our, returning to our essence. But that wisdom has been so lost and forgotten.
Quick question again about the maiden aspect. Ola, do you think that women involved in sex work can still tap in to the 0 point?
So the teachings of the feminine line state very, very clearly that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all what happened in your past, what happened up until that point, whether you have been abused, whether there was any form of sexual abuse involved, whether you have engaged in certain activities that perhaps are blocking the grail, or whether you carry a lot of shame, guilt, or any other emotions that are clearly not sort of supporting the alchemy. It doesn't matter. It also doesn't matter if physically something has been, removed through surgery, or if your hormones are not in balance, etc. It doesn't matter, because this is not chemistry; it's alchemy. So the teachings say specifically that it doesn't matter what you have been involved in, what you have done. At any point in time, you can turn it around. You can, but it is not the question of affirmations or intention. These are mind-based practices. Please understand that this is mind-based practices. You cannot fool energy. It's not about what you decide with your head. It's about what you change in your life, in your behavior, in your experience, in your emotional state. So are you living in peace? Are you living in have you gotten out of that consciousness of shame, guilt, fear, etc., or are you still in some way perhaps exchanging your sexuality for security, or for financial security, or anything like that? I mean, that's kind of for every woman to look into herself. We have another side of the spectrum here as well, which is when a woman enters into all sorts of sort of masculine behaviors, being perfect, competitive, perfect, trying to kind of prove herself, seeking that validation and recognition, and thinking that she needs to earn her place by showing what she can do and achieve, rather than just by being the holy grail that she is. Well, we don't remember that we are the holy grail. This is why we think we have to prove ourselves, right, at work or at home or anything like that. Women that sacrifice, women that are subservient to anything, women that are in any kind of religion or cult, women that are still practicing some weird forms of spiritual development, women that are still practicing any form of giving away their power and authority to some kind of I don't know, guru, or mind-based techniques of any kind. All that is blocking the nature, because as per nature, you are designed as a woman to create the land of milk and honey. You have the horn of plenty. That's your that's literally, the head of the bull, right? Why is the head of the bull so always worshipped? Well, the horn of plenty is there. That's your that's part of our design, right? The fallopian tubes and the yeah, the grail, the tubes. So all that is very symbolic, but it is in our essence, it is in our natural design. It is not anything to do with some kind of weird practices.
Ola, our entire conversation, I feel, answered this last question. But if you were to summarize, what is self-mastery?
Well, you see, I think it will be very disappointing, because I'm not going to give any philosophical explanation, or any Eastern sort of aspects to self-mastery. I think self-mastery is return to our essence, is returning to ourselves, it is about seeing past this matrix, seeing past the illusion of this world, which is where we are controlled, where a certain view of reality is being screened upon our third eye, upon the receiver, and we forget to see the real world. We disconnect from, I always give that sort of comparison to the movie Avatar and Pandora, being that real world, that real ecosystem where the blue people, the avatars, were living in symbiosis with, and that was literally the real world. And then the humans, of course, the whole script is flipped. The humans come and attack, right? So we have pretty much the same story, that exactly what happened here once upon a time. But the point being is, self-mastery is return to yourself, is absence of the programming, is transcending the programming, is transcending the conditioning, going beyond the religions, going beyond the Zodiac, and returning to that original sort of human, to that self. When Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world," it is about going past this matrix, going past literally the net that you see on the screen, escaping that, not physically, not in a physical sense, because that world is already here. We don't need to go anywhere. It is escaping the programming that keeps us within this fake matrix, that gives the sense of simulated reality, because everything is pre-planned for us. So it is the ability to reconnect with your own plan, not the plans of the gods.
Ola, that response was not disappointing at all. I like your authenticity and your straightforwardness. I thought that was beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I hope that was digestible to people, and that I kind of managed to explain. I know that these things they can be quite complex, and a lot of that probably is very new to a lot of people, because, like I say, this wisdom has been hidden from us. It's been hidden from the mainstream, and even when it emerges, it is immediately hijacked, and mostly by New Age, and it is distorted, and it is sort of fed back to us in a very corrupted version, which ultimately again serves back the agenda. But yeah, I would say, just leave everything. Don't listen to anything and anyone. Just get back to yourself. That's it.
I agree, which is why I think that conversations like this are so important so that we can sort of filter through all of the agendas and tricks and the interests of certain factions and groups who are trying to, have their own way. So Ola, I really, really, really enjoyed our conversation. Ola's website is selfmasteryquest.com. If anyone has questions for Ola, please leave them in the comments. I will also leave a link for Ola's recent talk that she posted as well, like she said on her YouTube, Ola WOLNY Self-Mastery Quest. And Ola, any final thoughts before we wrap up our discussion?
I think that I probably tried at least to share what I could have shared. Like I say, the whole spiritual development, the whole seeking. I feel like I've gotten to a point where I consider that another program and another distraction.
Yes.
It's not about development. I think we shouldn't be, developing out. We should be kind of going more in, returning to that original blueprint that's already in us. I see us more as, that core kind of an onion that we should be getting into while being layered with a lot of sort of external material in a form of conditioning, programming, and traumas, and it's about unpeeling, not developing further. There's nothing to develop into. So I think that would be my final thought and recommendation. And on another note, I just wanted to ask if that's okay, add if that's okay, my second website, which is mysticalarcticjourneys.com, which is specifically dedicated to the tours, getaways here in the Arctic, in the region of Lofoten, the ancient Hyperborea. So I organize those more personalized and big group tours as well, and events for people wanting to perhaps experience this region, experience Northern Lights, experience Polar Day in the summer. We have that going on for a few months. Right now, of course, we are in the season of Northern Lights. And if you want to experience that magic mixed together with the energy of this region, then just contact me, give me a shout, and I think you will be very, very surprised. Yeah.
I will make sure to put that in the description.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Wow, I think this whole conversation was well worth the wait, definitely. All right.
I think maybe it's best to do 2 parts of it, because otherwise we're gonna have people sleeping halfway.
I think that our conversation was interesting enough to keep people engaged. This was amazing. Ola, thank you so much for agreeing to
pleasure.
have a
Pleasure.
conversation with me.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to delve so deeply into some of those topics. I hope that the essence was passed on, and sort of it's clear of what I was trying to explain. But I do appreciate that this is not the sort of everyday mainstream version of
Yes.
right. So I do appreciate that probably a lot of people might find it quite confusing, but why not just explore it a little bit deeper then?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to give you an opportunity to do, to sort of to clarify some of the points, because I noticed that there would be times when you'd be on a podcast, you'd have a point, but then they'd either go on to the next question or something, and I just felt that
right,
you couldn't really explain that as deeply as I would have liked for clarification, and you definitely did that here, as well as in your talk in with the in Chicago. So
Chicago, right? Yeah. Well, I appreciate that you feel that perhaps some things got clarified. I think it's very important. I would hate for people to sort of draw the wrong conclusions
yes.
based on what I say. I sometimes take for granted what I communicate, because for me it's so obvious, right? But if it doesn't actually get packaged into what I say, then probably it's not so obvious.
Yes. Well, Ola, this was wonderful, and I'd like to thank you again. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. It's evening there, correct? Or
It
maybe
is.
not. I
It
don't
is
know.
evening. It is evening for us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Anytime. And yeah, thank you everybody for listening.
Wonderful. All right. Bye.